Hello, thank you for joining me again. On this video, we will look at the two branches of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches. So you remember this diagram. And we were of course looking at the autonomic nervous system on this module. And as you can see, we can further divide it into the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches. And these will be our interest on this video. So the first thing for us to note is actually at the bottom of this slide. So please note that it is the interaction of these two branches of the autonomic nervous system that allows us to maintain homeostasis. You can almost consider the actions of these two branches as opposite, and we use them both to ensure that we are in that sweet spot where everything in the body works optimally. And the two branches that we need to look at are the parasympathetic and sympathetic branches. And while parasympathetic branch is more concerned with the energy extraction from the digestive system and just maintaining functions at the state of rest. It is sometimes described as the rest and digest system of the two. That's because really it is what it is doing when this system is active, and its function too. The other one then, known as our sympathetic branch, is much more concerned with our immediate survival. This is at the time of crisis when we need to quickly get the body to respond to, for example, a threat. And we call this sometimes as the fight or flight system. So we are getting ready to either try to escape a situation or preparing to fight for survival, for example. Let's look at a picture to summarize these two. So this is one of my favorite pictures to summarize what the two branches that we saw did. And what I want us to do here is to consider what sort of physiological responses we might see when each of these is activated. If the role of parasympathetic nervous system was to keep the body's energy use as low as possible while carrying out maintenance activities, the functions that would be most active would be then digestion, urine production, and of course production of feces too. So this is really, in my mind, me after a good Thanksgiving meal. And the physiological changes that we see are low blood pressure, low heart rate, and low respiratory rate. Instead, we will have the gastrointestinal tract working hard. And if we look at the pupils, as you might in a clinical practice, you will notice that they are constricted and lenses really are accommodated for close vision. So really, it is all about resting and digesting. The sympathetic nervous system instead would be all about getting us mobilized during an active state. Some causes for its activation could be, for example, exercising, getting excited, emergency state, or, for example, when one gets embarrassed and has no control over it, and the physiological responses that follow. We all have been there when you blush without wanting to. So what we notice as physiological changes is increased heart rate. The blood also gets redirected to the skeletal muscles and the heart, and faster breathing and dilated respiratory tree. Other changes that are possible could be dry mouth, feeling cold, sweaty skin, sweat, right? And dilated pupils. Also, the liver is now releasing glucose as an energy source that we can quickly tap into when necessary. So, can you see how these two would differ in terms of the physiological responses? But there is also anatomical differences between the two. And there are three big ones that I want us to look at. First, the parasympathetic nerve fibers arise from the brain and sacral region of the spinal cord, while the sympathetic nerve fibers arise from the thoracic and lumbar regions. Then, the length of these nerve fibers differs too. Parasympathetic ones are characterized by long preganglionic parts and short postganglionic ones. Then again, the sympathetic has short preganglionic ones and long postganglionic. Finally, the ganglia location differs too. While parasympathetic ganglia are located within, inside, or very near to the effector organs, the sympathetic ganglia lie close to the spinal cord. So there we have a rather nice diagram here on all of this. So this has been just a quick review of the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of the nervous system. I would expect you to do a bit more reading into both using your other materials and textbook. Also review the neurotransmitters and receptors independently. We will finish off with one more video.